Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. Today we are going to take a look at cloud computing and then we are going to compare on-premise and cloud computing advantages. Then we are going to see about cloud deployment models, cloud service types and the different cloud providers. Before all of that, let's meet Rob, the owner of a software development startup company. He wants to build an on-premise IT infrastructure for his organization. But to construct on-premise IT infrastructure, Rob has to buy his own hardware and he should maintain the data center. He is responsible for the power, temperature of the data center, server racks. Also, there is a physical security needed for the data center to secure the hardware. All these results in a greater cost than the actual budget of Rob. He was very worried about the cost. At that time, he received a mail from his consultant that there is a new technology provided by some of the vendors where Rob can run the resources over internet rather than buying and maintaining the hardware and data center on his own. Renting of the resources nullifies the cost of hardware, maintenance and physical security. The technology which the consultant suggested as cloud computing, we can see various definitions for cloud computing in the internet. Let's divide that into two. From cloud provider perspective, we can define cloud computing as delivery of services and application over internet. The services are infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. From user perspective, we can say cloud computing is storing and accessing data and application over the internet instead of using computer hard drive or on-premise environment, which is instead of storing or running an app from the on-premise hardware, we are storing and accessing it from the cloud provider hardware over the internet via browser client. Some of the advantages of cloud over on-prem are: in on-premise, the resources are deployed in-house. For example, applications which you deploy are hosted in the hardware that is located in an organization data center. But in cloud, the deployment takes place in the cloud provider server in their data center. Deploying and managing an on-premise infrastructure usually tends to be complex, requiring significant timeline budgets and resources. If you want to deploy application in on-prem, you have to buy hardware from the vendor. Delivery of the hardware from the vendor takes time, and then you should configure it to include the hardware in your existing network, which take few more days. Eventually, that affects the application delivery time. Where in the cloud, you can get the resources within minutes to deploy the applications. In on-prem, the hardware and maintenance cost is very high, but in cloud, you only pay for the service you use. Cloud provider is responsible for hardware and maintenance cost. Scaling up and down the resources in on-prem takes time and manual intervention needed, where in cloud, it can be done rapidly. If any major failure happens in the on-prem infrastructure, the recovery time can take few days to weeks, where in cloud, the recovery time is shorter than the on-prem. Security in on-prem is fully owned by the organization, where in cloud, it's a shared responsibility model. The cloud provider and the organization shares security responsibilities. Cloud deployment models. Based on the access and privacy requirements of the organization, cloud deployments are divided into four types. They are public, private, hybrid, and multi-cloud. Public cloud. In public cloud deployment model, the cloud infrastructure services are provided to the user over the internet. The user can access the environment from the browser through the URL and credentials. The infrastructure is completely owned by provider. The advantages are minimal investment by the company and no setup cost. Infrastructure management is not required, no maintenance, rapid scalability, but this cloud deployment model type is less secure as it is open to general people. Also, the hardware might be shared by different organizations. The cloud provider is responsible for security. Private deployment model. In private deployment model, the cloud infrastructure is hosted on-premise or at the data center of the organization. The infrastructure is managed by companies' IT staffs. The access is strictly controlled here. Only the authorized users have the access to private cloud. There is no hardware share. Hardware and security managed by organization. Greater control of data and infrastructure. Supports legacy system where security is a great concern. Hybrid deployment model. It's a combination of private and public deployment where the company can store the critical data in private cloud and less sensitive data in public cloud to access. It reduces cost and provides security. Multi-cloud is the combination of two or more public cloud to distribute application and services. If one cloud is down, the application can still be available to the users through the other cloud. Also, we can avoid vendor lock-in by spreading the application between two cloud providers. Cloud services. Cloud services are categorized based on the level of user responsibility. We can divide it into three: infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. IaaS. IaaS offers compute, storage, and network resources on demand. It reduces complexity of buying and managing physical servers and data center infrastructure. User controls operating system, runtime, middleware, and application data. In this, user needs a machine with 16 GB of RAM, 64 gigabits of memory, 500 GB of storage, and he has its own custom OS to deploy. The cloud provider gives a virtual machine with all the specification. The user can simply host the application, middleware, runtime, and other softwares needed. In this scenario, the user manages the operating system, application, middleware, runtime, and other application installed. Cloud provider manages the hardware and virtualization. PaaS, platform as a service. It provides platform to build your application. You can avoid the expense and complexity of buying and managing software license, the application infra and middleware. User only manages the application and services user develops. Here, the user have code of his application. He is not expertise in the virtualization and the computing or storage requirements needed for the application. In this scenario, he can utilize platform as a service of the cloud provider to build his application. SaaS, software as a service. Delivering software application over internet on demand via subscription model. Provider manages availability, security of the application and data. User doesn't control over any data or anything. Gmail, Outlook are the best examples of SaaS. We consume those softwares over internet. Here, the user don't want to build or host the application. He wants the application to consume. In this case, he can use SaaS to consume the software. Now we can see the difference between IaaS, PaaS and SaaS by relating it to the cupcake making. The cells which are in green is managed by organization and orange cells are managed by cloud provider. On-prem infra is like making your own cupcake in your home with all the ingredients. You have to buy flour, sugar, butter, vanilla, eggs, milk, leaving agent, salt, bowl, cupcake pan, oven, dining table and serving plate. All these should be owned by you. IaaS is like you doing your own cupcake with your cupcake mix. Your cupcake manufacturer is responsible for the mixed ingredients and you are responsible for the cupcake. In this case, you only needed bowl, cupcake pan, oven, dining table, serving plates. PaaS is like you ordering cupcakes online. The restaurant is responsible for the whole cupcake and you are responsible for the serving. SaaS is like you going to a restaurant and having a cupcake there. The restaurant is fully responsible for your cupcake and the servings. Likewise, in on-prem infrastructure, you are responsible for networking, storage, servers, virtualization, OS, middlewares, runtime, data, and application, wherein IaaS, the cloud provider, is taking care of network, storage, servers, and virtualization. You are only responsible for OS, middleware, runtime, data, and application. In PaaS, cloud provider is responsible for networking, storage, server, virtualization, OS, middleware, and runtime. You are only responsible for your data and application. In SaaS, all the layers are owned by the cloud provider. You only consume the application. Cloud providers is the company that provides components of cloud computing such as IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. There are many cloud providers in the market. The three main cloud providers are AWS, GCP, and Azure. We also have many others in the market. That's it for this video. Thank you so much. If you have any queries or concerns, please let me know in the comment section. I will see you in next video.